faster, more patient-friendly form of immunotherapy for cancer treatment. Reports of strong air pollution smells have been received across Gibraltar today. Transport priorities on our roads set to change under new policy. Boris and staff vote to accept new pay deal following ballot by Unite. And the Royal Gibraltar Regiment marks its 87th anniversary with Regimental Week. Good evening. The Health Authority has introduced a faster, more efficient way of delivering the cancer treatment immunotherapy. The medication works by stimulating the body's own system to target and fight cancer cells. This modified version is a much more patient-friendly way of giving it. It's as efficient and has no greater side effects. GHA Director General Dr. Paul Bossier told Gibraltar Today about the treatment and what it will mean to patients.
Because it's immunotherapy, what it does is it actually stimulates the body's own immune system to fight cancer cells, target cancer cells. Now, traditionally, immunotherapy, as indeed most forms of chemotherapy, have been delivered into veins, intravenously. And that normally is a slow infusion process, taking at least an hour. And also means that we need to have permanent lines into veins. It's a lot more inconvenient, not just in terms of time, but in terms of actually access to veins and pain at the site of infusion. This new form is the same drug, but actually modified to be delivered subcutaneously, which means just under the skin. So it's given as a very fine injection over a minute or two under the skin. Either in the tummy or in the thigh, and has exactly the same efficiency in treating the cancer as the intravenous or IV drug. But the advantage, obviously, is that the patient comes in and has his or her treatment over a period of 2 to 5 minutes maximum. That is a huge significance for patients in terms of spending time in the hospital. Even though we have the most amazing oncology suite, it means that the disruption to patients' lives of spending time in hospital because they need recurrent treatment is significantly sort of reduced by giving it in this way. It's a much more patient-friendly way of giving it, as efficient, no greater or no lesser side effects really.
So it sounds more comfortable, quicker.
Correct.
What impact will this have perhaps on a patient's mental well-being as well as physical?
Yeah, huge, because I mean, there are many aspects in terms of mental well-being for cancer treatment, as you can imagine, surrounding the whole diagnosis, the whole treatment, the whole anxiety about the future. But actually one of the more practical aspects in terms of mental health and anxiety is an actual amount of time one spends in hospital and the disruption that creates, not just for the patient, but for the family. And returning back to work, for example, after the treatment, or even returning just simply home after a couple of minutes is a very different proposition to spending an hour in an infusion site, in an infusion suite. So it's very significant from that point of view. It's significant because it just shows that we're always trying to sort of improve the experience for the patients, not just in terms of clinical outcomes, but as I said, the clinical outcomes for this may well be the same, but the significance for the patient, as you've actually alluded to, are very significant. So from our point of view, it shows that the GHA is always trying to be innovative and always trying to keep up with developments that actually improve patient experience, not just clinical outcomes.
Apart from the patient experience, I imagine, does this also help ease the pressure in terms of resources and workload for your staff?
Sure, and also in terms of turnover, the number of patients that we can see, for example, the number of patients that we can treat in any one session is significantly increased. So on all fronts, it's a big milestone, and it means that patients can actually sort of access services easier and quicker, and turnaround will be much lesser. So yes, very significant from a practical point of view for us in terms of workflow.
Are all cancer patients eligible, or is it limited to certain cases?
No, I mean, this form of immunotherapy is specific to some cancers. It happens to be sort of one of the immunotherapy treatments that actually covers a significant number of cancers. For example, head and neck cancer, solid melanoma, breast cancer, cervical cancer. and not all the types. So it's specific to different types of those cancers. In terms of cancer treatment, it's one of the wider ranging forms of treatment that we have. That is immunotherapy, not chemotherapy, but is specific to some types of cancers, yes.
New 22-seater electric buses are being trialled for the Upper Town. These have been brought in initially as a shuttle for the nature reserve, given the cable car is under maintenance works. But in September, they will be introduced into the number 1 route.
They're amazing for the Upper Town, and the trials we've been doing proves that they are up for what we wanted. And battery life is fantastic. In one of the shifts, it can cover up to 60%. So they are really up to what we wanted. Yeah.
And the capacity is more.
Yeah, we've increased from 14 seats or 14 spaces to 22 now, which is 12 sitting and 11 standing on the new ones, which before we had 14 the maximum capacity.
Right now, it's a joy to drive. I enjoy it. It's smooth, and it's easy to drive, and it fits perfectly through Maurice Castle.
You picked up any passengers so far?
I've picked up 3/4 of the bus full, yeah, and they've been giving me feedback on the way it handles and the way they are seated at the back, and how spacious it is for them to get in and out.
What we've been told by suppliers, September they'll be in play. There's a few bits and pieces to be done so far, but the plan is to have them up and running in September. And Minister Godesses has committed to actually adding the extra services once we know how we can use our resource. We'll maximise it so the public get the best service which they actually deserve.
So that's our tour done, but buses are all about passengers. So we're going to pick up our first one now, see what he thinks.
You're really welcome on this bus. Hope you like it. This is one of the ones we're going to use for the Upper Rock shuttle, but it's the same model that are being constructed for us. We'll have 6 in September, and I think this is really going to revolutionize our bus service. Electric buses, very comfortable. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's great to have you on board.
The government has confirmed to GBC that other modes of transport will now take the same position as bicycles in the sustainable travel hierarchy when it comes to decision-making on the roads. This marks a change in the current active travel strategy, which placed cycling second and public transport in third place. Rosa Stengo spoke to senior officer at the Transport Ministry, Stuart Harrison, who said the government continues to promote and encourage cycling. He said they were also looking at making helmet usage compulsory.
The hierarchy of vehicles has changed. The Gibraltar, when that was drafted, is no longer the Gibraltar we have today. I think between the number of developments, the number of the way that we are now moving into our new developments, or especially on the eastern side, the amount of roadworks, essential roadworks, again, the sewage system is an essential one. So put all these things into play, and we cannot just forget about the vehicle. Of course, the ministry supports cycling and would love everyone to cycle and have this green Gibraltar where everyone is cycling, and that would be fantastic. But the reality is how things presently on Gibraltar, we need to really focus on how do we make our transport system work for motor vehicles and cyclists at the same time.
Well, to be honest, I mean, Gibraltar hasn't changed that much in 3 years, but what has changed is a new minister for transport. So is it a question of different priorities for a different minister?
I think he's picked up a lot of problems coming as well. Again, I said, if you take the Bayside area alone, there's 5 developments in that area alone. Then put into there was Tar Road and the developments on the eastern side. The amount of usage of vehicles and moving people is substantial, with roadworks, lots of parkings, everything else. I'd love everyone to cycle, and that will take away my problem. The thing is that people are not cycling. Therefore, it's about how do we make this work for everyone. Again, parking spaces, sustainable transport, use the bus more, and we're really pushing the bus, and we're victim of our own success. The bus is now overused, and most of the complaints on social media are like, buy new buses. This is not, it's overcrowded. We get it. We do monitor cyclists. We encourage cycling. We're opening the new cycle lane along Chatham Views very soon. We'll be having cyclists visibility along Northmore Road coming along soon. So, and we want the cycle network to continue. We'd love kids to cycle to school. Remember, we've also installed a lot of new cycling racks to put your bicycles, many outside schools, outside Chatham. We're encouraging cycling. We wish them to cycle, but a lot of people don't wish to cycle, and therefore we need to, taxpayers and people using the roads, they also deserve the equal say and opportunity on how the transport system is used, developed, and maintained.
So are we going to have an updated active travel strategy then to incorporate this change?
We're going to have to look at changing it. Again, I think it focuses on cyclists, but as I said before, e-scooters is becoming an ever-growing proportion of who use a public highway, and that's great. Remember that for every scooter that across the frontier, that's one less motorcycle or one less car that's going to need the parking.
The subject of helmet wearing came up in the Viewpoint last week, and the former minister was very against enforcing the wearing of helmets. You said that the government is looking at it. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah. So we're taking the views of the general public to see whether we should look at to actually drafting laws. We've looked at it in the past. Again, we've been a little bit reluctant because there is some research, but the way it's looking is that we may have to draft and pass law making helmet usage compulsory.
The GBC today received multiple reports of strong air pollution smells across several parts of town, with residents describing a heavy gas-like odour. The Environmental Safety Group says it has also been contacted by residents reporting similar bunkering-type smells in a number of areas.
The ESG says the smell has been reported in areas that include Upper Town, Waterport, Europa Mews and Harbour Views, with the group adding that the comprehensive schools in the Waterport area were also affected. The ESG says it's been told authorities are working to identify the source of the smell, which it says was still being detected in some areas 9 hours later. It adds that Gibraltar handles a large volume of fuel and says it trusts all operations are being carried out to the highest of standards. The group is calling on the Port Authority and the government to identify the source of the pollution, saying the public needs an explanation.
And just in, the government says the wide geographic spread of complaints across town, together with winds blowing from Spain, means the evidence does not support a localised emission source within Gibraltar. In response to GBC questions, a number 6 spokesperson said port operations were verified as normal, with limited bunkering activity and no fuel offloaded to vessels. Air quality data is also being reviewed to determine whether pollutant levels changed during the period complaints were reported. Staff at Morrison's have voted to accept a new pay offer following a ballot by Unite. The union says all of its members took part in the vote, with 78.5% backing the deal. The agreement includes a 10 pence per hour increase backdated to the end of March and a further 20 pence per hour rise from the beginning of June. Overall increases vary by role, with most at around 3%. Unite's Christian Duo said the result reflects the strength of a members' collective voice, adding that further pay talks with Morrison's are expected to resume in October. Well, you're watching GBC News. Still to come, a look at how workplaces are being urged to support staff through periods of changes to the Miss Gibraltar pageant, and the Royal Gibraltar Regiment celebrates its 87th anniversary. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well-being during times of change was the theme of the keynote speech at GBC's third Wellbeing at Work conference. It forms part of the charity's ongoing initiatives and mission to create positive working environments.
A cross-section of the local community was represented at the conference. Keynote speaker Fanny Lam-Lacoste is a business consultant, facilitator and coach, specialising in change management and organisational transformation. Her interactive address had the audience taking stock and discussing issues around the theme of change.
People look for experts, and especially in times of uncertainty and so on. Interesting for me to be here is also to see that what's really the experts are here in the room. The experts in your house, the people around you. So you have so much gifts to bring to this world, and I think that's it's just our focus. Probably that's the invitation.
Talking about the subject of change, why does change affect well-being?
It's interesting, even as a positive change, people just are afraid of, any uncertainties around. But with change, it's a constant thing. We deal with it. Again, I come back to the earlier point being, we all in it have ourselves, which is the confidence, It's, of course, a comfort, Uncomfortable doesn't mean that, being uncomfortable doesn't mean that it would be, difficult. And I think that's the thing around that. But it's a human nature to seek security. But the problem with security, there's a big price to pay with security, meaning that we're giving up some choices, probably.
How important do you think events like this conference are to promote well-being in the workplace, and not only in the workplace, but also in the home, in people's lives in general?
Yeah, I think it's important that we keep creating that space that people can really connect with each other and talking about, really something personal, not only about theory of concepts or things that we have no direct impact of. I think this is a great example of how we can have an impact actually with the room, the people you are in, anytime. So I think that keeps, important to be reminded of more often.
And if there's one thing that you hope people take away from the conference today, what would that one thing be?
You are perfect as you are.
Tourism remains one of Gibraltar's big economic drivers, bringing millions of visitors to the Rock each year. But how do people rate Gibraltar's tourism offering in 2026? Katie Docker was in Main Street to find out.
I've only been here a year and a bit, and to me, Gibraltar's like an adult theme park, the whole place. Can't fault anything about it. It's brilliant. Love it.
I suppose there's a lack of things to do in general, but that's based on size. It's not necessarily an issue. It's just where you're going to put these things to do, so that's about it.
We could do better with the cleanliness. The cleanliness is, for tourists, no. We boast about the town. It's lovely, the city and everything, but it should be cleaner.
Maybe have a bigger airport or something that can maybe have more tourists come in, like more boats or something good like that.
I would say the only trouble with the Jib is staying here and doing things for longer than maybe a long weekend or maybe a week. After you've been here for a week, I don't know what the longevity is for staying here for a long period of time. But aside from that, I think there's a lot to do for a lot of different people.
I've been cruising myself, and I tell people I'm from Gibraltar. They go, "Oh, we've been there. Such a lovely place." Everybody remembers Gibraltar if they've been here.
Gibraltar is an amazing geographically. I have dreamed a lot since my childhood to come here. It's amazing to see three flags in one area, one point.
Probably a bit more signposting and things, because I see a lot of people heading up to Upper Town looking for the apes and looking for Moorish Castle and things, and it's quite poorly signposted. And as a local, we have our kind of ways to get to places, but it's really difficult to try and kind of convey that to tourists. So probably better signposts and maybe a little spruce up.
It's amazing into how many shops you go into Gibraltar, into Main Street especially, and people don't know how to speak English. So I think that should be very high up in whoever's list of sorting. At least a certain degree of English should be spoken in the shops.
Maybe sort out the transport a little bit. We've only got one taxi firm.
they're not always helpful. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So as well as the buses, which is a brilliant service, English, definitely. Cleaning up a little bit, definitely. Signposting, definitely. Just make it a happier experience for them.
And tonight's Viewpoint asks the question, with an open border, are we ready to meet the challenges of a potential increase in travel and tourism on the Rock? In a panel discussion hosted by Rosa Stengo, she will be joined by the Ministers for Travel and Tourism, John Cortes and Christian Santos, and opposition MPs Damon Bocino and Giovanni Origo. You can watch the programme tonight, right after the news. Number One Models has signed a new 3-year agreement with the Ministry of Culture to produce the Miss Gibraltar pageant. The later date of the Miss World pageant means the local show will have to change venue. Director Kelvin Hewitt told Kellyanne Borge the offer from the ministry came as a surprise, but he's looking forward to the challenge.
The experience for the girls is amazing. It's an opportunity to help the girls boost up their self-confidence, to challenge themselves to do something different. Because obviously we've been doing it the past years during the summer period in the Alameda Open Air Theatre, but because we cannot do this year's pageant until after Miss World, and Miss World the final is on the 5th of September. So it's going to be quite late this year. It's late, yeah. So we are looking into doing it in October. We won't know the exact dates till next week because we still have a few meetings. But yeah, we're looking at doing it at the Europa Sports Complex, so something bigger. Obviously, I wouldn't change anything. People, for what I've heard and the feedback, they enjoy what I've been doing in the past years using local acts. And as I always say, it's all about the contestants. So yeah, I encourage any girls aged 17 to 26 to sign up, and I'll 100% say that they won't regret it. It would be the best experience.
You'll give it your all as always.
Yes, as always. Me and my amazing team.
Regimental Week is underway for the Royal Gibraltar Regiment, marking its 87th anniversary. A series of events are taking place to celebrate the regiment's history and future. As part of the programme, members were in Casemate Square hosting stalls to engage with the public and raise money for the Regimental Benevolent Fund and the Gibraltar Scouts.
Regimental Week has become firmly one of the most important parts of the regimental focus of events. It started about 4 years ago when I came back to the regiment as a battalion second in command, and I saw there was a gap where we weren't really celebrating, like other infantry battalions, our identity and our people. So we put together what is now become Regimental Week, and what we tend to do during that period is have a bit of reflection on who the regiment and what the regiment is and what we stand for, what we've stood for. So we capture it within different themes of the past, the present and the future. So paying respects to the veterans, paying respects to the serving members, both regulars and reserves. And then, of course, there's an element where we also showcase our talents and try and encourage recruitment, and that's what you can see behind me today, to encourage the next future or the next soldiers of the regiment.
So we've done a lot of activities over the week. Today now we're focusing on the future. So we've got a charity fundraising built up for the Benevolent Fund. We've also got it for the cadets, and we've also got it for the scouts, for the youth of Gibraltar, to give them a first influx into what we do as a regiment and some of the exercises that we actually achieve in PT.
And that's all from the GBC News team for now. Don't forget, you can always catch up on our website. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.